I just totally messed that up. Try it again. Here we go. All right. Welcome to the fourth episode of the GLPDC podcast. I'm Milton Dixon, and I'm here with Rhonda Baird and William
Hi.
Faith down there. And, we're a group of permaculturists that have been hanging out through technological means, just trying to up our game. Do something a little different, explore the possibilities. So here we are in our fourth podcast. So we one thing we'd like to do is just check in what's going on with folks in their permaculture lives. So would Rhonda, would you mind starting?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Well, there's been just a lot of things going on generally for me and in life. And besides that, in a more permaculture focus, I've been spending a lot of time lately starting to work on the May issue of Permaculture Design magazine. And then also just a lot of organic reach out from people for design work this spring. So that's exciting. So yeah, lots of projects in the works. That's
great.
Me. Check. How about you, William?
Yeah, lots going on. Just completed my sociocracy leadership training, which I'm happy about. That was fun, very rewarding. Working on trialing a bunch of different microgreens right now. I've got Oriental Wasabi Mustard coming in, which is fantastic. Really like that variety. Got some corn shoots in, which are amazing. Really, really sweet and tasty. And have some buckwheat and that I'm trialing right now. And beyond that, working on a design for sanctuary in the south of France, still working on that. And I think that's about it at the moment. But plenty on the plate.
I just want to jump in and say, when someone does this is at least I know it as twinkling, and this is a silent agreement. So if you see that happen, that means oh yeah, good. Right?
Yeah, or a celebration.
A celebration.
Something good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Spirit hands. Silent hands. Applause.
Jazz hands. However it comes out.
Whatever.
I'm over here in Ann Arbor, and I have been horribly sick. So just, the blanket in my cold house, because we keep it pretty chill here. I do, at least during the day, when the family's home, bump up the heat. But and I actually started working again on my shave horse that I talked about in maybe the first episode, and I'm making a little stool so that I can kind of sit out in my garden and not sit on the ground. I can kind of be down in it. It's gonna be. I'm pretty excited about it because one of the things I'd like to do is just there's like some stones, and I'll sit on a stone and just kind of be in the garden and watch the cars go by and watch the bees and the wasps play in the thyme and the mints and the different times of day and different times of year, depending on what's flowering, they'll be in that. So I really like just having something that will enable me to be in that space and be a part of it. So today's topic that we're going to talk about, though, is infrastructure in the city. And I'm just going to throw out there, I think it's totally pertinent. Most of the time that you, and wherever you are, but especially urban, you really actually get to make very few decisions about some of that basic infrastructure. It's all been decided for you decided by someone else, and decided probably in the past at some point, and you're kind of stuck with the decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about, very few of us, we have this mentality that we're going to settle in an area, sort of still have this pioneer or colonizing mentality, right?
Yeah.
That it's open land and we can do anything we want, or we can, or if we're in the city in an urban environment, it's like we can do whatever we want. But if you're renting or you're moving into a neighborhood, there are legal infrastructure pieces, social pieces that have already been decided for you. How you supply water to your structure, to your house, the structure itself. A lot of decisions are made. I work with clients all the time that just bought a house, and so maybe they get lucky and they have good solar aspects, but maybe they haven't, So yeah, just to illustrate that. Yeah. So yeah, you were saying a lot of people decisions have already been made for you. And some of those you can work with and some of them you can't. So it's really good to know how to figure out which ones you can work with and which ones that's just something you're living with. So
definitely, you're trying to learn where your limitations are, find out what your limiting factors are, and then work within those boundaries to the best of your ability, building in redundancies where possible for things. And then where you can't, having to source things from outside or looking at other situations where you may be able to shore that up somehow through maybe neighbors or the community itself to try to make up for those shortfalls in some capacity. And that feeds into a much longer game of community economics and trade and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. When I just saw this almost like an inverse of this. We're talking about infrastructure. But thinking about, in an urban situation, the lack of ecological infrastructure, mm-hmm. that you're dealing with, that often has been bulldozed and cleared. And that's one of the things that maybe that's the leverage point, mm-hmm. in a lot of situations is to start to work on that missing pieces of infrastructure that the whole, maybe not the whole, but living organisms, that ecosystems have, and that we have stripped in order to put what we think is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess that's a good way that's maybe an important goal and a strategy to start reintegrating those pieces, those ecological pieces. I think another sort of major point for me when it comes to infrastructure is that, especially in urban areas, but in any area, is that it's always usually a collective effort, usually done by government of some kind. And so organizing, being involved in local governance in your the neighborhood council, knowing what the policies are, advocating and speaking up for a better future is important. Having an understanding of what the possibilities are on a municipal design scale or a neighborhood design scale is critical. And it's important to do that work now, because most of the cities, especially, I see it around a lot here in the Midwest, they're all dealing with how to upgrade municipal infrastructure that is aging and also responding to climate change. So for me, that's one of the main ideas to get across to you today. Is just now is the time to get involved, to get educated, and to advocate.
Nowhere is that, more obvious right now than right here in Chicago. Just less than, I want to say it was last week, that there was a segment of the Lakeshore Drive that was shut down because one of the metal girders that was under one of the bridges gave out. Ooh. And so this is a massive infrastructure thing that's going to take a lot of time, effort, materials to address, and so it's a little bit of a window into how things could possibly look in the not too distant future. So I know I beat this point to the ground constantly, but to tail in on what Rhonda was just saying, it's never been more important to develop community. And I know that permaculture, a lot of permaculturists tend to approach it from this very individualistic approach. And I think Rob Hopkinson made some jokes about his experience with early permaculture was people up in the mountains making chairs out of sticks, and this sort of thing. Whereas when we're here in the city, our best hedge against crisis is each other. It's really coming together, knowing your neighbors, having a relationship in place. And being able to exchange and trade and get help and give help. And it's these things that actually knit this stuff together and makes it all doable, makes it all a lot more comfortable in the grand scheme of things. It's really not about self-sufficiency. It's really interdependence that makes the entire thing work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we are running out of time. We're trying to keep things short. But if you're interested in permaculture, interested in even what we've been doing, we've got a course upcoming. What's the date, friends?
March 30th.
March 30th. That's right.
Saturday.
Urban Permaculture, a one-day course. We're going to be discussing a lot of these things. And you can check out our other courses and our online PDC that's going to start in June at glpdc.info. And also we've got a free intro course that's in the works. It's going to be coming out soon, so we're excited about that. And to build our infrastructure, and the infrastructure that we can share with you. So that's part of what this podcast is about, right? So did I forget anything?
You're all good.
I think that does it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's it for episode 4. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Jazz hands.